All right, how we doing, everybody? It's Chase. We're going to cover mostly Bitcoin today. We'll touch on ETH. We'll look at ES, the usual. Okay, so straight into Bitcoin. We're gonna look at it a little differently today. I drew up a range on Bitcoin. I'll show you guys how I did it real quick. We have to go down to lower time frame first, but basically I was just looking for a sort of a swing high that provided a strong reaction. That's the first thing I'm looking for. So just going from the daily, it's sort of, you have a high here, okay, you have a high, but you're not really getting any strong reactions, right? And then you put in this high, which causes this big dump here. So I go down to lower time frames because I need to see, I want to make sure that the low really isn't in before the high. I like the high to be in and then a low to be placed. So once we get down to the 4 hour, that confirms that for me. So I'm content with that. We go back up to the daily. And just looking at it from the daily, right? We had a high, we had a low, we sweep the low, we sweep the high, and now we're back at the mid-range, okay? If anyone's curious as to how I draw this, if you're a beginner or anything, it's very easy, right? You just take your fib tool, go from the high to the low, and then you just use like a, array or something to mark the mid-range, okay? Simple as that. All right, so just have to make sure I'm still recording. I know Maine said he was recording the other day, and after the video he had no audio. That's like the worst thing in the world. Anyway, so high, low, run the high. At that point, typically, now we're dealing with Bitcoin here, right? But at this point, typically, what you're gonna do is a range. Typically, it runs both sides, and then whichever side it ran last, the opposite side is the way it's going to essentially distribute to, or expand to is the better word. Okay, because we are seeing some high time frame here consolidation, whether it's distribution or reaccumulation, we've yet to see. Like I said, it is Bitcoin, so we're at the mid range here. If we end up coming back and flipping the range high to support, that's where I look and just start scalping longs again, looking for higher, looking for eventually, if we had marked out our resistance right here, so just we take our lowest daily closes here, we can see good respect on the levels, right? We can see good rejections outside of this sort of swing. This strong lick run here, or stop run, whatever you want to say, sweep, plenty of names for things, right? But it's all the same shit. This strong sweep here makes me think that this could expand to the downside. But if it did get back above here and it starts consolidating, ready to move up, then we can only really look towards the other side. You can either mark it as like simple, SR right in the daily. You can mark it like that. But at the end of the day, typically things go for liquidity. So we would have to mark out, right around 32.6. And like I've said, my plan is if we do get up here, I think that movement in here is a deviation, and then that's when we get our major move back down. So that's what I continue to watch for in terms of a high time frame move to the upside. Outside of that, let's get back down into here onto the lower time frame and just chat some of this stuff out. So again, we're just drawing it as a range this week. Again, guys, you can draw things many different ways, and a lot of the times you're going to get the same results. Not a huge deal, right? So what happened here? Swept the high. We break down. You print one of your little fair value gaps here, or also support here before the move up and break down. Okay, so that flips, right? Again, similar concepts, right? I know. I'm not going to get into it, but similar concepts, right? Look at this: support, 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 support. Breaks down through it, resistance right there. Okay, clean as day. Keep it marked like that. So a reclaim of this is where I start to consider, that we could be moving back up towards the range high. And also in terms of these low time frame moves, the 618 has been providing good retests. So I had gotten stopped out. I'll show you guys. I had gotten stopped out on an SR flip trade on the lower time frame, and we're going to talk about that in a bit. But that trade was from here. Okay. So I played this retest right here, and I was looking for it to fill down to here. But I was talking about how these SRs lately, on the low time frame at least, are not as reliable. Your high time frame SR flips have shown me a lot more reliability over the years. Your lower time frame is a little bit less reliable. And really what's been working, what I've noticed has been working on these lower time frames is these 618 retraces, right? So the short idea still could have been great if I just played the 618 instead of the SR. So you take your most recent leg down, right? This is where our leg down begins. You have a high, you have a low. High, low right here. This is your most recent high right here before the leg down. Okay, most recent high before the leg down. Look at these candles. Just over and over again, nothing but down move, right? That's how you spot that out. You fib that out, there's your 618, and it would have went right to my target of the demand right here. See? Perfect. So all I had to do was play the 618 retracement rather than the SR flip. The overall idea was good. It was just the entry technique, so to say, was not aligned with what the market is currently doing. So the higher time frame SR flips have been working well. We saw that on ETH. I had drawn that out on ETH. Easy long on ETH. I forget exactly where it was. I don't want to browse through my Twitter, but it was. I'm pulling up some Twitter stuff later. But it was this, simple enough. If I just mark it out, you can go on my Twitter and look. It's just a high time frame, right? So high time frame, resistance comes down, flips to support. I had the box a little higher on Twitter like that. Perfect tap, and you get a nice move off of it. Okay. So the high time frame SR flips have been working good, but the lower time frame SR flips not so much. So I will be adapting my strategies a bit in the current market. More of these 618s, I'll be looking for that more often, and more gap fills and SR flips towards the top of the price action. Okay, just delete all this. When I say SR flips towards the top of the price action, I'm saying like this, right? So we're on a simple 4 hour here. Support, 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 resistance. Okay, clean. 1 second. All right, clear this out. So again, upside, we look for the deviation. Downside. If this expands to the downside, where's our target? Well, I would say two things. I'd say you do have a potential support area right in here, but with this amount of consolidation that we're seeing, if this is a distribution range and we're going to distribute downwards, then I think it's only safe to go with a level like this as a target, right around 25.2 area. If we pull up to a daily time frame, we can see resistance, 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 plows through. We should find some support here. With that said, as we do come down, I don't know if this is the support, or if we do come down, and I think pay attention closely here, I don't know if this is the support that fully holds, and I'll tell you why. First off, I think it's the obvious level that a ton of people will want to buy and will be waiting to buy. And if it pushes through just a little bit, you'll start to see some stops. Also, if we go down to a lower time frame, in my opinion, this is sort of the capitulation candle of the bears, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that price was supported here. It more or less means that bears shorted, bears shorted, bears shorted, bears shorted, bears gave up, rather than price really being supported. In my opinion, if we were looking at support, we look at here, because we would say, okay, we push above, daily gets rejected, daily finds support, and we move up. So this is more my level of interest for buying, around 24.3, okay? Now I'm going to show you something else. Watch this, ready? If you go on a weekly time frame, look at how clean that is on the candle closes. If I go over to ETH and I show you the weekly, look at that SR flip. So maybe we front run it a little bit, just like Bitcoin, right? Maybe Bitcoin front runs a little bit, 24.4, 24.5. Look at ETH. Just a little bit of a front run on that weekly, that perfect weekly close, a little bit of a front run. What if we had, perfect weekly close, a little bit of a front run, lines up with my thought process in terms of how people will be buying early, getting stopped out. The real support's down here. and this was more of a, like I said, on the low time frame, or on the 4 hour, this is sort of a capitulation from the bears rather than really supporting price. And really supporting price was in here, as far as I'm seeing. Okay, so that's thoughts on Bitcoin. Overall, again, just to surmise or summarize, whatever it is. Again, flip range high to support. We scalp up into here. We start playing this from level to level, right? Range low to range high. A move up above liquidity is what we eventually look for. You don't get it immediately, right? Think about that too, is that a lot of the time, people, totally depends on your trading style and whatnot and how long you like to hold things for. But if you're long from the range high, right, of course you're going to want to take profits at, like a resistance level on the daily, right? So you want to take profits here. But it'll reject, okay? So it'll come up, it'll reject, and then, if you want to wait days or if you want to wait weeks of whatever happens, and eventually it comes up and takes the liquidity, well, then maybe your target would have hit all along. But it's really personal preference as to how comfortable you are in holding your positions. If holding a current position prevents you from taking additional positions, etc., etc. All right. So I do think eventually, if we do move up into this area, that we will take the liquidity out up here. But I would be, obviously, if I'm taking any longs, I'm looking to take profits towards the top of this range in here. Okay, simple as that. Play this level to level in here. Outside of that, again, current thoughts on the range. And I always have to say it is Bitcoin, because it does trade like Bitcoin, right? People, it just doesn't trade as traditional as some other things, in my opinion. So sweep of the low, sweep of the high. It should, quote unquote, resolve to the downside. That's typically what I see from ranges over the years. I see a high, I see a low, I see a sweep, and whatever, once both sides are swept, it typically resolves to the opposite side of the most recent sweep. That's typically what I see. And I would look to, we'll see how we act in here. Again, we had marked out the fair value gap in here /SR. We had marked that out. A reclaim of this, and I wouldn't be as bearish anymore. A sweep of this could be of interest. We watch for something of that nature, a potential sweep there. We look for loss of the mid-range, some significant loss of the mid-range, a retest of the mid-range, possible short scenario again. And it goes that way down the stretch, right? Significant loss of the range low, have price come back in, find some of its area in here. It'll eventually find resistance in here, something probably along like these lines, right? Let me have that drawn out ahead of time. So boom, look at all this, SR in here. You lose the range low. People initially short this, but it goes past it. They get some stops. This is where your real support resistance is, right? And then that's where you break down from, and you fill. I can't draw a line today, guys. And you fill into there, okay? That is how I'd be playing it, from high to low to all that good stuff, okay? All right, moving forward. Ethereum. Again, it was simple SR flip, right? I talked about this. I don't think there's too much I need to talk about on Ethereum. I'm still in the Ethereum long to a small degree. I think I have about a third of the position size left open. I'm mostly holding it for potential run of liquidity up here. In terms of what I think could happen for ETH, if I'm just zooming out to a very high time frame, I think the obvious level is mostly in here. You can see monthly support, major breakdown through. I tend to think your first test of 22.75 is basically an auto short, give or take $50 worth of deviation. That'll definitely be an area I'm looking to short for some type of rejection, okay? Whether it moves up higher or not, whatever, but as I've told you guys before, first tap of high time frame SR is typically your best opportunity to get a long or a short in. your first tap is going to have the highest reliability. The more times a level is tested, the more likely it is to break. Okay? The first test is almost always going to give you some type of decent rejection. Okay, and moving into ES. Take a sip of water. All right, looking at ES, again, I have it marked out as a range. I've had this marked out as a range for weeks. I just added the equilibrium in here, but nonetheless, a high, a low, sweeps the high, has yet to sweep the low. I still feel like this should sweep the low, okay? It's just typically how things work. If we reclaim this SR, and this is sort of my area of interest for shorts right here, I'm keeping a close eye on it. We could watch for a potential swing of this level, watch for this level to be reclaimed. There's a couple different scenarios in here, but at the end of the day, I still think that this should be swept. That's where my eyes are. If we do come up and we simply flip this area back to support, no deviation, I'll have to withhold my bearish bias for now on this and think that we could potentially be going higher. And then I'd have to pull up the ES1 chart if I want to look at that, but we're not going to do that today. This is the current contract. I've been having a lot of questions about that, by the way. What contract should you be using for ES? You want to be using the current contract in front, which is ESM 2023. The reason you don't want to use the ES1 at the moment, or really in general sometimes, is because sometimes it sticks with the price does not necessarily update. I wish I could explain it in a better way. Maybe I just don't have the knowledge to, but I know that when I go into like my traditional finance broker, the price lines up with what ESM is on. So even though ES1 looks the same chart-wise, the price is different. And typically, I guess the reason is because ES1 is staying on the older contract's price where people are no longer trading until the contract expires. I think that's the correct explanation. Nonetheless, okay, I try not to pretend I'm an expert where I'm not. Anyway, so yeah, I'm watching in here. I think this is potential for, deviation here and come back down. Again, multiple scenarios in here. I try to present ideas that are actionable, present ideas that are more high time frame. I can give you guys a quick example of a scalp I took yesterday, and I can also show you that sort of 618 thing I talked about before. So was scalping yesterday on ES, and a good opportunity was presented right here. I had this low, or I had the high marked, right? So I had the high marked, and I was waiting for a retrace of the. Oh, we're getting a little vol here. I was waiting for a deviation of this high, but I didn't think it was cooked yet because I wanted it to get. And this is crucial too, right? I didn't think it was cooked yet or it was going to go down yet because it had not tapped the resistance zone. Okay, it had not tapped the resistance level. That's something you should be thinking about when you're taking entries and when you're targeting things, and you should be thinking, oh, well, I don't think this is done. So even though this is a deviation, I actually looked for a long here. And so what I did was I came down, said, okay, I see a consolidation in here, right? And I just played the very top of it. So right there, this consolidation, the move up, you can see some confluence over here as well. If you just mark that all out, resistance, obviously a little short here, but resistance, this consolidation. Again, you can say fair value gap in here, combined with the resistance here, perfect tap of the level right there. Played this long, and then let me bring up a lower time frame here so I can show you. Played it to the 618. And I thought I was a genius at first, right? Because look at this. Bounce, played it to the 618, strong rejection, right? Pretty strong rejection right there. And then it goes up and goes past. But, there must have been some news at 8:30. That's why we're seeing volatility. 8:30, oh yeah, final GDP and unemployment claims. Okay. So, yeah, 618, nice rejection. Again, so that's what I'm saying was we're seeing the 618 rather than the SR, right? Because we would think that the liquidity level, once we had broken down through the liquidity level, that it would flip to resistance. But instead, just the 618 played cleanly. Okay, so something to watch for these what's it called? These low time frame moves. These 618 retracements have been pretty clean. Okay, something to keep an eye on. All right, I think that's it. We will talk about, I'll briefly cover some of this stuff. Give me a second here. So I said SR flips are a double-edged sword. The most simple ones have provided me with great gains over the years, but I've also been chopped up endlessly. Reflecting on that, but without data, I tend to think that high time frame SR flips have served me much better than LTFs over the years. I've had these thoughts on and off for a while. I'm going to do my best to incorporate it more into my trading. I'll keep taking these simple flips on the HTF, but prioritize other techniques I have for LTF. Okay? Simple enough, right? I think I harped on it enough this video. We'll focus more on the high time frame SR flips, and for the lower time frame, start utilizing some other techniques, such as the 618 retracements that I just showed you. Keep an eye on the fair value gaps, things of that nature, more for lower time frame, right? Outside of that, keep moving on. And I said, I don't think there's too much more to talk about that, so we'll just go right to the next tweet, right? I said, it's funny because someone will probably think, oh, it took you 7 years to figure that out, but in my opinion, for every trader, there's a lot of untapped potential that is sitting dormant within them. And this goes for all you guys who are listening. That potential / realizations often require some type of trigger / stimuli to hit the surface level before implementation is possible. For me, this month of trading really surfaced what I discussed in the quote tweet. I got good gains off the BTC / FS high time frame SR flips / breakout trades. But applying the same strategy to the LTF, hit the SL a few times. I was able to tell the difference. Remember, you're never too good for adjustments. The journey's endless, and traders of 20 plus years will say they're still learning. Never stop honing your craft. Okay, so yeah, basically what I'm getting at is that, I think it's in everybody. I think that there's plenty of us who are going to... There's plenty of us who have a lot of stuff deep inside that is yet to hit the surface. And for me, this month really hit that on the nose for me, because I was doing well off of the bullish bias that I had from the Bitcoin SR flip. And even though Bitcoin didn't tag the SR flip, right? Even though it didn't, let's just move this up for now. Even though it didn't retrace back into here, I was still able to capitalize because my bias was bullish all in here, right? Because I knew this wasn't going to be some type of a simple deviation, like immediate deviation, right? You got it on the first one right here. But once this second move happened, I'm like, there's no way this is a second deviation. So that gave me bull bias in there. With Ethereum, simple SR flip, right? Just worked perfectly. So, you have to really... I think a lot of this stuff has to come together, and when it does, and you're like, oh, so this worked, this didn't work, this didn't work, and it all hits you at the same time, that's when some adjustments really come out of you, and I'll be focusing on that. In general, just quickly talk about vulnerabilities and whatnot, and sort of posting about this stuff. I hope you guys find this stuff helpful, because not that I mind, but I think that it's very rare to see people reflect and really break down their thoughts and potentially some of their recent inadequacies and whatnot, and put that out there, right? I think a lot of the stuff you're going to see, a lot of the stuff you see in crypto is just, you're seeing a breakout, and then someone's posting, they're saying max bid, and number keeps going up, and they keep cheering and throwing it in your face, and that's great. It's not really great. I think it's fucking stupid. But here's the point. I'll tell you why it's stupid. And some people just say, "Oh, well, Chase, why didn't you just max bid when you saw a breakout?" Well, I chose to scalp it long and keep my wits about me. But the thing is, no one ever asks me, hey Chase, why are you still here? Why are you still here and growing after year after year after year after year, and you're still in the space and you've performed year after year? I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, right? You performed year after year and you never left. You keep grinding, you keep doing well. How many people over the years, how many influencers over the years have posted max bid, right? Remember when they were max bidding in here? Remember when they were max bidding that? And now you haven't heard from them in a year? You haven't heard from them in 2 years when they were max bidding all these different spots. They're max bidding here. Where'd they go? That's what I want to know. Where'd they go? Because all I see is that people post this stupid shit. It's fine when they're memes and whatnot, but it definitely rubs me the wrong way when all these people are doing is saying max bid, but they're not giving you any thoughts about invalidation. They're not giving you any thoughts about how things could possibly go wrong, and that relays onto the community, and the community fires back at people who actually post actionable setups and low time frame stuff, or quote unquote low time frame stuff, say like hourly and whatnot, and people are getting crazy over that time frame stuff, guys. It's not that fucking hard, right? High time frame, daily and above. Low time frame, hourlies, 15 minute, 5 minute, 1 minute, whatever you prefer, right? It's not really that difficult. I can't believe I gotta answer that over and over again. Now I'm sort of tilted on something else. I'm not trying to take it out on you guys, you beginners who are asking about the time frame. Not at all. All right, so forgive me on that. But again, I think it gets pushed onto the community, and then the community's like, "Oh, why are you doing all this extra stuff when you could have just bid the breakout?" Well, because I'm not just gonna fucking buy with no invalidation, or invalidation literally $6,000 away. Doesn't make any sense. That's how people get wiped out. That's why so many people who have quote unquote max bid over the years are nowhere to be fucking found. They're gone. They're wiped out. They're back at McDonald's. So if you want to go that route, you just trust me, guys. CT has a high risk tolerance. A lot of people are willing to take a lot of risks. You hear about the good things. You hear about the ones that work out well. You don't hear about the ones that don't work out well. You'll hear it from old timers, quote unquote, like me. I'm not a true OG, but you'll hear it from old timers like me who talk about people who used to be around and no longer are. Plenty of examples. I'm not going to call anybody out, but I wish them the best too, right? Maybe they did fucking max bid and they closed it and they said fuck this and they took all their money and they're fine and they're chilling. That's fine. But I know a lot of those people got wiped out. So that's something to think about. And at the end of the day, I wanted to, I should say one more thing actually too. Hopefully, and try not to skip this, hopefully all the education is fruitful. And I want you to think about when you entered into the space, and I think a lot of you, I'm going to talk about sponsors, right? Shout out to Prime and Bybit for sponsoring these videos. My links are in the bio. Probably a lot of you entered this space and you probably signed up under some LARP, who just posts a Bitcoin chart, knows nothing about it though, just in 2 lines, one up, one down, and then the next day they're doing a paid shill, right? And a lot of you guys probably still support people like that. So I'm not telling you necessarily to support me, support whoever your favorite educator is, but support some people who actually trade, people who are willing to talk about invalidations, people who are willing to get stopped out, people who are willing to post ideas for you and actionable setups. If it's not me, look at EXO, look at SZ, look at Maine, look at people like that, CBS, any of those guys, Cred. But don't, if you're one of those people who joined in 2018 or something and you've been trading on some fucking LARP's code for years, take a minute, make a new email, and support the people who actually teach you and put themselves on the line, put their vulnerable thoughts out there, and actually try to help you, okay? Because there's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of just fucking, well, I'm max bidding, and they don't fucking say anything but that, and then they cheerlead in your face later. But we don't even know. We don't even know if they got in, where they got in, what the invalidation was. They could be up fucking 0.5 R for all we know, and how wide of a stop they might have played. So, anyway, that's my rant. I hope you guys are well. Hope you have a great week, and I'll talk soon. Peace out.